we have a quorum, so I will start the evening. So good evening. This is the March 3rd meeting of the Community Preservation Committee. At this time, I just am going to ask if anybody in the audience is recording other than LCAT. Hearing none, I see in the attendees are committee members Phil and I believe also Ralph. I'm assuming that's Ralph Cooley.
I mean, to send them both in.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, that's both of them. So we'll send them in. So we'll have them join us. We'll give them a second to join.
It looks like Philip declined to be promoted. I'll try again.
Okay.
Might have been an accident. There we go.
Okay. Good evening, Ralph. Good evening, Phil. So in attendance thus far is Robert Dobeck, Elizabeth Stoughton, Dan Reynolds, Lynn Booth, Ralph Cooley, and Phil Hebert, as well as myself, Jonathan Torsha. So just going along the agenda that we have, as I was saying to some of the members earlier, I accidentally did not put in the message email that I sent all you yesterday evening the meeting minutes, unfortunately. So I will send those over later so then they can be voted on next month. But they are ready to go, and then we'll have these meeting minutes. So we'll get those all done when we have our next meeting in April. So just kind of moving along here. This is, as I was saying earlier, kind of just like a lot of little updates basically going on this evening. So in terms of the applications, so the high school wall ball application was approved by the town council. Oh, I think I see Tony in the audience as well. So we can.
I'll promote him right now. Hold on a second.
We can invite him in. Tony?
Yeah, I'm right there.
All right, awesome. Just wanted to double check.
Yep.
All right. So continuing on here, Dan, would you be able to just mute for just a sec? Okay. So just, yeah, continuing on. So in terms of, yeah, so the updates, so the wall ball project, that is in the process, that was approved by the town council back in January. That is in the process of, I've been on some email chains back and forth. They are in the process of acquiring the funds. So this was a project that we had funded back in November. And that passed the town council unanimously. So they're expecting that project to be completely done sometime in the spring. But they are working with the town accountant's office. Phil, I can loop you into more of that information as it becomes available regarding that transaction. If there's any type of documents that need to be signed or anything of that nature in terms of the financial aspect of it. So that project is moving along, and there should be some new updates, but that was approved by the town council. The Bark Park application has been kind of on hold just because there is a larger kind of discussion going about. And I kind of wanted to have a little bit of that, kind of an informal discussion a little bit about heritage. So I wanted to, get everybody's kind of some opinions, thoughts. This is kind of like a kind of casual discussion, essentially, of the of Heritage Park and what maybe we would want to support in the future if there is an application that does come up. I know there's a lot of energy going towards looking at redeveloping Heritage Park. So that project is a bit on hold right now. We're going to get, I think, some more information, but there was no action taken at the town council meeting where both of those applications were on the agenda. And then, of course, I had sent over Tony. I can get a physical copy for you, but to everybody else, I sent via email the Veterans Memorial application. I may request that the applicant might, either could type it out, or maybe, have somebody else write it, because I know some people were just concerned about the writing and trying to understand the writing. So I can definitely do that if anybody's having trouble reading it. It looks like Phil may have dropped off, and I think he's in the attendees, so we can bring him back in. And I also see another number that might be Tom O'Brien. I'm not sure. We can invite the other number in. I don't know if Tom, that would be the if that's his number or not.
And they come back in.
Yes.
I've been juggling back and forth for some reason. I can't get my computer timed in with what I'm doing.
Oh, trust me, I've had so many Zoom issues. We're now going on 2 full years of Zoom, and I'm sure everybody has a
Are you
Zoom.
going to go to in-person meetings?
Yeah. So, well, I was kind of going to discuss that a little bit later, but now that things have, I know the town's mask mandate has expired. Cases are fairly low. Unfortunately for this evening, I just wasn't able to secure a location.
Okay.
So in terms of, we can have that discussion right now. I'm totally comfortable with going in person, unless, anybody really objects to that, or is concerned. If that's the case, we can absolutely work something out where it's easier. But I think that might be a good opportunity. We don't technically have to be recorded, but if we are recorded, it might be better to keep the day on Thursday, because the schedule for, and Jamie, you can chime in here, but I spoke to Mr. Mackey that it would be easier keeping it on a Thursday schedule. I didn't know if people were okay with that, or if they wanted to move it to a different time of the week. But I wanted to get everybody's kind of quick thoughts on that, whether they're comfortable with the meeting date staying the way it is, or the time of the week, or if they're more comfortable perhaps changing it, because we can be pretty flexible considering we don't need to be recorded.
Fine with me, Bob.
It's
Thursday.
fine with me. We're having an in-person meeting and
In person, yeah.
wherever you have it. I would prefer an in-person meeting. I have it when my DPW is in person, and it's been working fine.
Okay.
I also would prefer in person.
I too also.
Okay. Does anybody else have any thoughts one way or the other, or?
The day works for me, and I prefer in person as well.
Sorry, Dan, I think you're in and out a little bit.
Yeah. I didn't understand them.
I didn't understand them either.
Me neither.
Yeah, so it seems like generally that's
yeah, I'm good for in person.
okay. I think if I'm understanding that correctly, you said you were good for in person.
Thursday, yeah. I would go with that.
Okay. All right, that seems generally like the consensus. So if anybody has,
Yes.
okay. All right, yeah, I heard that. So if anybody has, if anybody feels differently, we can definitely, you can, bring it up, or, we can talk about it offline if that's easier. But we'll probably then just keep this date, and then we'll move to probably, completely in person. And then, if somebody needs to be brought in by Zoom or something, we could work that out. Just give me, a heads up. So, if somebody's, whatever, if it's a scheduling issue or something, so we can make sure, if everybody, if that wants, is able to attend, can attend. So we'll do that. I'm going to look at probably getting the school committee conference room again. That's kind of naturally one of the easier areas to get, make things convenient. And I know everyone's pretty much familiar with it because we've had, some meetings now in that room. And I would guess that it's probably going to not be too hard to get it for Thursday. So it'll probably be still first Thursday of every month. Again, not every month. I mean, I would expect we'll meet a handful of times this year, pretty much between the April 1st deadline and the October 1st application deadlines. So I don't expect we'll probably go on like some type of summer hiatus and probably not have that much going back into the winter months later into this year. So I think that pretty much encapsulates the application updates. I know that, so the Veterans Memorial request, that's for 25,000. There is, Terry, the applicant, did make notice of the larger budget that they're asking, but I know they've had state grant money. They've had other private donations. They've put on fundraising events. I know some of those fundraising events have been affected by COVID. So that'll be something we can definitely discuss going into April, but I wanted to give that to everybody. And I think there might be some more documentation that he wants to add to it.
I have a question for you. Jonathan.
Sure.
Why so little?
Yeah, no problem.
That's,
Why was it, why would he, is this just a peg, 25,000 to get an application in?
you know,
There's a
When I-
huge amount that's outstanding. That they
yeah,
gotta
when
still
I had a
raise.
conversation with him, I mean, I said, you can, kind of, we can, put, whatever, you feel we can discuss it and, have a conversation about it. I don't know if that's like, that's the only amount that he kind of needs. And then everything else has kind of been accounted for either previous fundraising or planned fundraising that they're going to be having. So I don't know where the 25,000 exactly came up. I think maybe he just started perhaps kind of off with that, but I'd have to probably get more information from, when we invite the applicant to see what the thought process was.
The other thing I would like to see is a layout of this memorial, what it involves to some degree, because I couldn't hardly read the description, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Of what they describe, but he's got a total price of 600,000 or so overall, and I thought they've only raised around 285 or 240, and this 25,000 isn't getting them anywhere near that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
at
they
the
would
same
have.
time, I didn't know what it looked like, what they were proposing, and I don't mind going higher, if I know what type of memorial they're setting up, you know what I mean? Overall.
Yeah.
I'm not against a veterans memorial myself, but I'd like to know what it's supposed to look like, for the town, and how is it gonna fit on the senior center property, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Lynn. Oh, yes, Tony.
Jonathan? Yeah, I know most of the guys on that committee. I can get a copy. I've seen it, and I can have it for the next meeting and show everyone.
Okay, that would be
It
awesome.
sits on the front lawn. It's, yeah, it looks really nice. I can get you a copy of it, no problem.
That would be awesome. Lynn, you had your hand raised? Yes.
Okay. The only question I had is they put it under historical, and I realize the veterans is a historical thing, because I'm assuming it's for past veterans, but it's not considered to be the category for historical. My suggestion is possibly they should change it to recreation.
That's the exact same thought I had when I read it.
Right, because I'm assuming it's going to be an area they're going to build, people are gonna go there and reflect, say a prayer, meditate, and to me, that's more like a recreational spot. Historical is, they're not acquiring any historical document, or they're not preserving it, so to me, it doesn't fall under historical at all.
Yeah, it would be kind of like a brand new thing. I think that was maybe that might have been just kind of what he was thinking off the top of his head at the time. But yeah, I think it would be appropriate that if, when we discuss it and if we vote, as a committee in favor of it, that the recommendation, it would come out of the recreation, open space, but line and versus historical. Dan?
Hey, yeah, am I up clear now? Is it better?
A little bit,
Am I
yes.
sounding
A little better.
clear, more clear,
I could hardly understand the prior speaker
or is it?
or Dan.
Yeah, it's better now, Dan.
Okay, basically, okay. For me, just visually, I think seeing sort of an artist rendering would be beneficial. I think the one that was just recently built in Westfield at Stanley Park, where there's access to the memorial. It's very well. It's nicely done the way they done that one. So yeah, just for me, just kind of see where it sort of falls in the landscape there on Main Street. I'm a tech person. I don't know why I'm having tech issues right now.
That's all right.
My
We all,
internet.
no worries at all. But you were, I don't know about everybody else, but I could hear you a lot better for that so than before. But no, I agree. I think we should be getting some renderings. I saw some renderings when this came before the planning board. Probably like it was like at least a year and a half ago or something like that. Just to have we had a discussion on it. So I would guess that we will be able to get those renderings so then people can take a look at them in time when we start discussing it in April. So I will add a note to that and make sure that we have that. Yeah, that pretty much encapsulates the application updates. The only other application that information that I've heard of is we may have a application come from Heritage Park or the Recreation Commission or something of that kind of combined or something. But I kind of reserved a whole discussion on Heritage Park a little bit lower in the next section. So anybody have any questions though on those applications that I've mentioned so far? Seeing none. So the master plan, I wanted to make sure, did everybody receive that document? The Debbie House from the town manager's office was really helpful in being able to put that together just as kind of a rule book, a guide for new members, for the public to be able to, use that when applying or becoming a new member or something. And it has all the information about CPC and then how the committee works and the whole process. Has everybody seen that document? If not, we can definitely, it's not a pressing matter, so we can definitely discuss it at another meeting. But I wanted to make sure that everybody had it. If they didn't, I will definitely make sure those people get copies of it.
I could use a copy, Jonathan.
Okay.
I think you sent it once to me early on, but for some reason, when I was trying to set up my folders and everything, I lost files or emails, and I think I lost one of your emails that had that master plan.
No worries at all. Yeah, I wanted to just have this discussion just to make sure that everyone had it first, because it's not it's not a hugely pressing matter, but my goal has been for the last little bit is kind of to have eventually like a document, just like a like a guiding document, sort of like other committees or organizations have that. And I know other communities have their own kind of called basically like a master plan of sorts. Everything you would kind of need to know and more about CPC. So
yeah, I took a quick look at it before and it was kind of helpful, but I went to go back to review it, and it was before I arranged my files and folders, and for some reason it disappeared.
no worries. Has anybody else had that issue or does not have a copy of it? Hearing none. Yeah, so if anybody does have that issue, if they don't end up finding it, then, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, shoot me a phone call. I think everybody should have my contact information. So, and I can definitely send that over, and then we can discuss it. We can discuss it at our next meeting. And it should be pretty straightforward document. And then, if anybody has any edits or changes or things that they want to add or things that they want to add to it, definitely let me know. So we will do that then. We'll do that at the next meeting. And Phil, I'll make sure to get that copy over to you. And then again, if anybody else needs it, then, give me, shoot me an email or something regarding that. So, all right. I'm actually going to get, I'm going to move things, item number 4, just move item B out of order, just so that we can get this membership vote out of the way before we talk about Heritage Park. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but do we need a vote switching those things out of order? I just want to make sure I'm going along the normal process here. I'm not sure if,
Or normally you would vote, the committee would vote to rearrange the schedule on the agenda.
okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Would somebody be able to entertain a motion to move item 4B out of order?
I'll make the motion to move agenda 4B up in front of A
Mhm.
to our current discussion.
Do I hear a second?
Second,
And because we're on Zoom, quick roll call vote. I'll start at the top of my screen here. Bob, I think you're muted.
Mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, for the vote.
Okay. Elizabeth,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yeah.
and Tony.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I just want to get this quickly out of the way so then we can end off the meeting kind of just talking a little bit about Heritage. So I got a few weeks ago the membership fee for the CPA Coalition. So some of you may remember it. This is they offer technical support. There's a monthly like newsletter. I think everyone should be on the contact sheet for that or the list for that. If not, I can definitely see to adding you all to, or whoever it is, to that. But just kind of gives updates, legislative updates about what's going on CPA related. And they also offer technical support. So if, we have a question about an application, if we have a question about, whether, the spending or approving resources for that type of project would be appropriate, I rely on them a lot just for technical assistance with things like that. So it's the membership fee is $1,750. I don't, unfortunately, off the top of my head, have the number from last year, but if I recall correctly, it was almost essentially the same. It may have bumped up about $50 or something. But this is something that the town has had for quite a few years. I think since CPC was originally created or passed in the community over, I think we're now going on almost 15 years of it being in the community. So this is usually something every year, but this does require a vote to update it. This will come out of the administrative expenses. So funds out of the administrative expenses do not need to be approved by the town council. So as a result of the vote this evening, I can go to our town accountant and then they can process that application. I was sent a W-9 or I think it was W-2 form, and they can send that back for the membership to pay that annual membership fee. So with that, we can, if we can get a motion on the table, and then we can have, any discussion if anybody has any questions. So do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the fee for the subject that we're talking about. What was it, in the neighborhood of 1,700 or
1750.
1,750 for this fiscal year?
Second,
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All right, we will vote on that, and I'll start again from the top of my screen. Bob,
yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and Tony.
Yep.
All right, and I am a yes as well. So that passes unanimously. So what I will do is I will get that over to town hall, and then they can process that. So then we will be up to date, and we can we'll have a new, a renewed year for membership. So, all right. So the final portion, kind of the evening, and I see Donna Prather in attendance. So maybe Jamie, if we can maybe invite her in, if anybody had any specific questions about Heritage Park, her being the recreation director, I think she would be really valuable to the discussion. I'm not sure if she's able to speak, but I'll just invite her in so that we can kick off the conversation. Donna?
She's muted.
You're muted, and we can't
Hi.
see. Hi, Donna. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I just kind of wanted perhaps if you'd be willing, kind of like an impromptu update on things. And I know we had a really great discussion. The rec committee had a really great discussion on Tuesday, and I saw you in the attending here. So just kind of maybe wanted to get your thoughts on where things are at with that. And I kind of wanted our committee to see how they felt about Heritage Park and what maybe they'd like to see out of it.
Okay, well, yes, you caught me off guard and I'm in my sweatshirt on the
Oh,
couch.
I'm sorry.
So sorry about that.
No worries.
No, I mean, Heritage Park is very dear to my heart and I'm happy to help you out. So, yeah, where we are with Heritage Park is that a study was done and it was finished in 2016. Heritage Park has a lot of potential for recreational activities, not just sports, but I think the thing that makes me passionate about Heritage Park is that it's for all ages, has a potential for just more than just sports, but of course sports. There is if anybody wants to look on YouTube with LCAT, on December 9th, there was a meeting and we talked about it. And what we'd like to do is use the prior CPA funds that was spent, I think it was $25,000 to do this study to see what the potential is. And now we're at the point where we'd like to move forward and say, okay, let's take the information that we learned from that study and do the next step. And so that's kind of where we are. The other thing about the Heritage Park project is that I don't want this just to be a CPC or CPA town funded piece. We've established the East Long Meadow Foundation. I really want to look strongly upon corporate sponsors, grants. I mean, I moved to this town, I pay taxes in this town, and the last thing I want to do is raise my taxes. But as a taxpayer, but also as a rec professional, I would really want to see our recreation department move forward. So so that's where I stand as the rec director and a resident, is that I think Heritage Park has potential. And I think that we have many funding source potentials. And we're just ready to take the next step and see where it leads. Does that help, Jonathan?
That's great. That's a good, good summary of everything. So with that, I kind of want to just open up the conversation to hear what others had to say about their thoughts on heritage. In no particular order.
Well, I'd like to say that the Parks Department could use some help. Heritage Park is just one piece of the overall recreation facilities to a degree, but it's a large part. Like Donna, I believe Heritage Park has some great, it's a great area to some degree to expand those facilities and stuff, but what goes in there is a real question mark of how you want to spread your resources in that park. They're asking to do a lot, but to some degree, I have my own feelings about what's in their project. That's up for discussion later on, I would assume, to a degree. But I believe the CPC can help them in those plans. It won't be total funding or for that whole project or anything to that degree, but there's a good portion, I believe, that the CPC can support in moving forward in developing the Heritage Park for the Recreation Department. Our town needs facilities, fields and other things for our recreation for the young kids in town, especially after the last 2 years. The town is losing fields, and Donna could go into that more on her own if she wants. So we have to be a little smarter of what we're gonna develop and for what as we go forward. And that's a discussion with the Recreation Commission. But like I said, I believe the CPC can help them quite a bit overall. That's my general feeling.
Lynn?
Hey, I agree with everything Phil was saying, but I know they submitted a plan years ago, and it was a big plan. So I guess my question to Donna is there a plan? Is there a plan A, B, or C, or are they jumping in and doing the whole thing? I'm just trying to figure out if there was a certain section they were going to deal with first, and that's what they were looking for funding for. So just a little clarity on that would be great.
Yeah, Donna.
Yeah, Lynn, that's a good question, because we looked at it from several different angles, and right now we are looking for the entire project, just because if you're gonna do it in sections, it costs a lot more. That's why I'm so adamant that this can't be a one funded project. That's where we are looking right now for the for CPA capital help to get this going. And the idea is that there is talk about bonding, I will admit that. But our hope is that in the next phase of this is that we can talk about what we don't need. So we had a meeting on Monday, the Rec Commission did, and we talked about this, and there is some fluff in the plan, the final plan, that we probably don't need. But at this point, we just have to make or break. We have to just go for all, and that's what we want. We want to look at our options. We want to present it to the community. There's a plan in there. Let's just take the fishing dock, for example. Some might say, do we need a fishing dock? I don't know. Other in the community say we must. But at this point, we have to present the plan to the residents and let them help us decide. But yes, as a whole, we are looking at the entire project.
I'd like to just make one comment. You said there was a study done that cost you, Donna, was it 25,000, whatever it was? Is that available to us that we could take a look at it?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yes.
just to see what my only concern is sometimes when like a project like this, we want to make sure we factor in the long-term, what is the long-term commitment, sometimes things are said and then they don't think about the future and I think has to be taken into consideration. Time and time again, decisions are made, not only in Washington, DC, and that without any thought of what the future. And now this is a much smaller project, I understand that, but I'd just like to see what that plan that you spent that kind of money for, what it says, if that's available to it.
It's absolutely available.
Okay.
And yes, I can, Jonathan can provide that to you, or I can, or both of
Yep.
us, but.
Yeah, I'm
and
not sure if I
you're-
have it, but you can send it over to me and then I can
Okay.
disseminate it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And you're absolutely correct. I moved from Indianapolis, and I've been through many projects like this. And I've also
Okay.
been through
Okay.
projects where we build a building and nobody said who's going to clean it, who's going to
Yep,
put the tables and
you got it.
chairs.
You got it.
So I understand the big project, the big picture, just because unfortunately I lived through it. I was
Yeah.
one of my last projects in Indianapolis. I was presented with this wonderful building with no cleaning options,
Yep,
no
you
tables
got
and
it. Yep,
chairs. And
that's
so
what I-
again, I get it. So
My wife
You're
was on the project of the, with the kids things there, the swings, et cetera, et cetera. And I think she
Yeah.
complained once that wasn't kept up the way it should, just in the
right.
background, I heard that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's why the East Long Meadow Foundation that we've established is important, because we need endowments. We
Yep,
need
very good.
maintenance plans. I mean, even down to the trash bags and the
Yeah,
toilet
right,
paper.
Right.
It's huge. I'm not going to deny. And this is a huge project, an undertaking for East Long Meadow compared to some other projects that I've seen. I mean, I'm going into my 5th year, so I understand what you're saying. And at this point, we don't have those answers, but right now we're just looking at what is it going to cost to put a bulldozer in the ground
Yep.
to build that fishing dock. And we just need to know what that's going to cost, because in the end, then we'll know how much toilet paper and trash bags and
Yep.
cleaning supplies we need.
Well, with your experience and all, which is great, and you recognize what I was saying, as I was saying. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Donna, can I ask you something? Donna?
Okay, guys, I'm in my sweatshirt. Okay, go ahead.
You don't have to, if
Oh.
you don't have to show your camera, that's all right. No,
All
no
right,
worries
all
at
right.
all.
Go ahead.
All right, Donna, my main concern with that park is, and I'm all for developing it to a certain degree. I would like to see, before we do any major construction, I want to see security in that place.
Yep.
Illumination. And I'm talking about the whole area. Also, a combination drive and walking path so that if a cruiser has to make tours during the night, just to make sure nothing's happening in the back. And also cameras. I'd like to see that in place first before we start building another field. As far as the fish dock, I'm against. Well, you got to remember, 2/3 of that land is wetlands. So you just can't,
Absolutely. Yep,
So,
we're
I
looking
mean-
about a stretch up the middle. On
Right,
most-
and I also would like, those 3 things are very important before we start piling a bunch of money into this park.
That's an excellent question. Yeah.
And also, I'd like to get the input. I know I've talked to a lot of people who live on, butting the park and whatnot. And they're afraid to go down there. And, they're getting reports 10, 11, 12 o'clock of undesirables down there. I mean, we got to make this park secure. When it closes at dusk, it's got to stay closed. And if it requires putting up a fence up in the back, I don't know. But I do want to see illumination. If we have to raise the canopy on the tree so you can see from front to back. I mean, That's my main objective before we even start putting in money.
No, and is it Tony? Is this Tony?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah, Tony, that's a good point too. And Mr. Page on the town council has brought up the same questions. I will say, I'm going to defer back to my years at Indy Parks, is that we've built features in parks that had some activity that wasn't positive, and because we put positive activity in the park, that has driven out some of the non-positive activity. So I've seen it happen. I can bring statistics to the table, but everything that you've said has been in discussion and is on the table.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Does anybody have any other thoughts? Oh, Lynn?
Yeah, I just have one other thought. Donna, is there any thought or any plans into doing something? I know when that place floods, I mean, it really floods. You see the benches, and you see a lot of things either underwater or, I mean, not even a little bit, like feet from, the benches. It just gets really crazy. So is there any thought with the plan to do something with that for the overflow?
Yeah, the pond needs to be dredged. I don't know. I mean, I'm listening to folks that have been here longer than I have, but it definitely needs to be dredged. There's talk about the water flow that comes in from the playground side and the water flow that goes underneath the road out the other side. There's talk about also there's other grant monies that Bruce, the superintendent, is working on as far as the floodgates with that. So yes, that is a big factor also in maintaining that pond and ensuring that it doesn't continue to flood.
If I could add to that, there's a whole plan to review the outflow of Heritage Park plan going underneath North Main Street that has to be considered first of everything. It's going to concern that whole drainage area from the Heritage Park pond with the outflow of it and the drainage of that whole area. No matter what you do in that park, you're going to have to deal with grading, where the soccer field is and everything else. No matter what you put up there, you're going to have to consider drainage. And so there's a whole big study that's being done, that's being reviewed with DEP and everything, that has to be accepted. And the town has to do the work before it can do any work on North Main Street. So I would assume that whole project of outflows and studies will all be done prior to this project.
Wow.
Well, it sounds like we have a little infrastructure work to do before we even start anything.
Yes.
And the pond is the main one. I know
Yes.
the gate is temporarily fixed. I think they can go down there and adjust it, but it's all got to be replaced. I don't know what the cost is there, but you're talking about dredging the pond. That would sound like the Army Corps of Engineers would have to come in and dredge it like they did years ago when they built that park. So that's number one.
That's almost number one before you do anything over that park is
Exactly.
that outflow area of the Heritage Park pond has to be done first, because we have a big project on North Main Street that's going in, that before you can do anything on North Main Street, you gotta fix the outflow of Heritage Park.
Yep.
And DEP is involved with it and everything else. So it'll be done before this project gets kicked off. And the only reason there's a fountain in the pond is because of the DEP issues. The pond, otherwise it would be full of, the flow wouldn't be right on the pond. Nothing would be living in that pond without that fountain. So the dredging will help establish the pond to survive anything in it.
Donna, have you got any costs, or has Bruce Fenney got any costs on what it would cost to dredge that pond and
Yes, he
do the
does.
repair work necessary?
He does have the cost.
Okay, do you know how
I
much
don't know.
about?
I'm not sure how much it is overall because it's part of that big study on the outflow of Heritage Park pond with North Main Street and everything.
Okay,
But he does have the cost. It's not cheap.
oh, no, nothing's cheap.
It's pretty large. But it has to be done. Whether we develop this park or not, it has to be done.
Do you know where the funding would come from that? Does Bruce know?
Bruce would know.
Okay,
Bruce is looking at grants to help
Yeah,
with that project.
Multiple sources.
Yes.
do you think we'll know sometime this year?
Yes. You may already have it.
All right.
All right, so yeah,
Maybe in
so
the next, I think at the next meeting, next month, we can have Bruce Fenney come in and talk to us.
sure, yeah, if we, so, that kind of, kind of how I kind of wanted to end things, so, I think if we, if we end up getting a, application, the deadline is April 1st, so they have, so Donna, Rec, and everybody has until April 1st if you want to submit an application, and then at that point, we can absolutely start to have a conversation, more about Heritage Park. But Donna, I appreciated your presence. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot like that. But I just want to, have everybody kind of give out their thoughts. And I thought it was, I appreciate, you coming out or virtually speaking, coming out this evening to kind of hear everybody's thoughts. And I hope that could kind of help with as you consider potentially submitting an application to us, kind of our thoughts ahead of time. So again, I really appreciate the impromptu kind of questions and answers. So. All right.
Thanks, John.
Definitely, Donna. Thank you. All right. So kind of jumping kind of onto the end of things here. So the next meeting deadline, next meeting, not deadline, it would be so the first Thursday, I should say, is the 7th. And I'm going to try to get the school committee conference room. I don't know of that definitively, but we will put it for April the 7th, 6:30. Does anybody want it to be 30 minutes earlier or stay the time it is? Does anybody have any qualms about the time? That's pretty much been established for a while. But I didn't know if anybody with their schedules, if it's too late.
Nope, not for me.
No, I wouldn't even mind if you made it 6 o'clock.
Okay.
That's not a problem either.
All right.
Hey, Jonathan, you sent out a page with the fund balances and stuff.
Yes, thank you. I forgot to mention that earlier. I had to submit the annual report. So just a quick primer on explaining kind of what the CPC is, the updated balances. Those were rounded. Those were balances I got back in January. If you guys look at it, and this might have been before the addition of the wall ball project. So in terms of the recreation side of those balances, the wall ball project probably dropped that down a bit. Let me just find. Hold on one moment. I'm gonna
That's about 60,000.
Yeah, it was about, it was 56. I'm just about to pull it up so everybody can see the numbers. Yeah, so it was just an update of all of the committee members currently and just a quick explanation of what CP is and what the CPA Act is. So right now, Open Space and Rec has 271,000. Historical Preservation has 250. community and affordable housing is 245,000, and undesignated is at 737,000. Those numbers may have changed as a result of the wall ball project being approved, so that might take off 50 or that about almost 60,000 from open space and rec.
The reason why I brought it up, Jonathan, I sat with the town accountant and I had him print out a balance sheet as of the end of January, 2022. And actually, we actually have around $2.3 million worth of cash.
Oh, so even more than these numbers. So that must have been
Those are fund balances and they're out of date as of right now. The undesignated fund balance at the end of January is 1.1 million. And the open space is at 117 and historical resources is 241 and affordable housing is at 288. But as you well know, we have two outstanding bonds. We got liabilities of about 465,000 to those two bonds on the Browns Farm and the pool. So out of the the assets are about 2.5 million, of cash is 2.3. And you got $465,000 worth of liabilities plus the wall and the track, right?
Yeah.
Out there. That's not in the 465. So we have a lot of cash.
Okay, yeah. That those are, if you wouldn't mind sending me maybe if you have a copy of that
I
balance
got a
sheet.
copy of the balance sheet that I received from our accountant. I went down and sat with them for an hour or more, a couple of hours to go through the numbers and get me up to date on stuff overall, just to see where everybody was and in the process of who signs off on checks and authorization of payments and stuff, which you're trying to get a handle on, I believe, to some degree. But I actually wanted to see the real numbers. And so I went down to have them print off a balance sheet for me right out of the system. And when people talk about fund balances like you just did, it's nice to know fund balance, but I want to know how much cash you have and how much receivables. The receivables are of course tied to our tax receipts. So of the $2.5 million worth of assets, 2.3 is in cash and the rest is in receivables. And then, like I said, the liabilities are there at 465 for the bonds, and then it's just the fund balances, that makes up the rest of the balance sheet overall. But the receivables, of course, go back to 2015 even, but it's tied to the tax collections. And 153,000 of the receivables is the current year anyway, with tax bills due through the current year overall. So we're in good shape financially. We got more money than you should stick at.
Yeah. So
at $2.5 million in reserve, we need the applications.
Yeah. I would say
have good projects.
Yeah, I've been saying for a while, I definitely, and I'll continue to plug it. Anybody knows organizations, it can be private organizations, it can be town entities can apply for these funds as long as it's within those categories and it's of course in our community. Then people can, a lot of people could be eligible for these funds. So, and I've been pushing that for years. So if people have those applications, I know we've had a handful, but really most times we only really have 2, 3, maybe 4 tops. And even, some of those applications might only be for a few $1,000s. So, I don't, we shouldn't spend all the money at once, but we do have a lot of room for comfort right now compared to other communities, and it's even more than I even thought it was. And I think that's the more the late breaking numbers.
Yeah, that's why, from my personal standpoint, I don't mind supporting a good recreation department plan to some degree. I think that our fields need work for the kids at baseball fields, softball fields, soccer fields, and things like that, whether they need lighting, dugouts, backstops. I think the Recreation Commission can do more in putting their applications into us for worthwhile projects that they need work done. They've been lacking it. I think they could do more in submitting applications to this committee. They should, and stuff. And there's other worthwhile projects in this town that can be done with this town money that we have. But at the same time, you got to look at the big projects and how can this committee support it?
Yeah, we not only have the existing cash, but as you all know, we have bonding capabilities.
Right.
And we can bond out based on the tax revenue that we get. Most of the money is tax revenue directly from the community. Some of it's from a trust fund that the state provides. The matching rate, I may add, is at a 10 or 11-year high, even with a significant number of communities in the program or have voted at the local level to start, initiate CPA. So yeah, we are in an incredibly strong financial position. So we are not in any worry of things being, at concerning low rates. Lynn, I think I saw your hand up earlier. I just wanted to circle back if you had a question or.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Awesome.
Your inflow, Jonathan, to this fund is almost $400,000 a year currently.
Yeah.
We had a great reimbursement from the state, like you said, and when you clipping in $400,000 a year and you're paying off a bond that's $40,000 a year, and the stuff we probably got 8 more years on those bonds, but you're only talking, anywhere between $30,000 to $50,000 allocated to the bond. The rest
Yeah,
is
we're not even spending, even if we, at the rate we're going with applications, even if we were to approve every application in full, no matter what it was,
you wouldn't spend the money.
we'd still most likely be netting money each year out.
Yes.
Great. Gentlemen, I have a 7:30 appointment, so I'm going to be rude and leave.
All right, I think we're finishing things off now. So we'll have discussions about new application deadlines, the new application deadline next month, April 7th, 6:30 p.m. Does
Good.
anybody have any other thoughts or things they needed to add? And if not, we'll take a vote to adjourn.
So moved.
Yeah,
Second.
all right. Motion to adjourn, seconded by Bob.
Yeah.
I will go quick roll call. Bob,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and
Thank you,
Tony.
everybody.
Very
Yes.
good.
And I'm a yes. Everyone have a great evening. And
Thank
we
you.
will see you. We'll
Great
see you
meeting.
April 7th.
Great meeting. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Take
Thank
care,
you, John.
everyone. Have a great night.